Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a great afternoon, morning, whatever it is, because it depends on where you're watching this from. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. I know a lot of people, they wanted me to chart some coal companies, and you know what? I'll chart coal companies. I'm not a huge bull on coal. I can give you my reasons on the next, in the presentation of why I'm not an ultra bull on coal. I am much more bullish on uranium and oil and natural gas. So I just wanted to get that out there. So here's coal companies, the technical analysis of those. So we're charting coal. Coal is much more controlled than, say, oil. And what I mean by that is utilities can shut down or replace a power plant with something else, and they can be forced to do that by the government. You can't really do that with a car that an individual owns. They're not going to say you need to buy an electric car. It's much easier to do that to the utility companies and put regulations and rules on them than say putting on the squeeze against people driving their cars, especially if there's no real good alternative yet. There's more regulations depending on the country, depending on where you're at. They're putting more regulations against emissions. And I think coal is going to experience an uphill battle because of these things. Oil and natural gas, I think, are better opportunities over the medium to long term. What I mean by medium to long term, maybe 5 to 10 years. Carbon credits, emissions could really hurt coal, I would think. And then renewable energy, I think they're looking at that and may be able to replace metallurgical coal over time. And I know they're talking about the Middle East potentially having all that sunlight, putting in renewable energy, and basically transforming those countries for furnaces and whatnot. So let's look at the charts. Here's ARC Coal, ARCH. We do have a big pattern here. It broke to the upside. Is this a for sure break? I mean, it looks pretty good. I don't see the volume stepping in massively here. It's kind of flat. So I don't know on these because I don't have the conviction that coal is going to necessarily just blow higher. I have a feeling over time that they're going to have a huge X on their back, and all these regulators are going to go after them. So that's my concern. You can be a contrarian, but you can be a contrarian and be wrong too. So just because I make that statement doesn't mean that you're going to be right. And just because you're a contrarian, you have to have the data, you have to be right. And to be contrarian, you're just buying it when everyone else isn't. You don't want to be a contrarian if you don't see the money flows rolling in here in mass. Now here's BTU, Peabody Energy Corp. We do have some volume stepping in here, so that's someone's coming in and buying a little bit more of it. It looks like we have a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder developing where we could go to the upside, which we already broke, the pattern. And the projected move would be from this move here all the way up. So it could potentially move to the upside quite a bit. This one looks a lot better than ARC Coal. This is Yanzhou Coal Mining. This one looks really good. We've got a big long-term downtrend line. I would have bought it right like in here on this downtrend break, maybe at 875 or 860 or whatever this is. We do have some volume kicking up a little bit. So this one looks a lot better than the other ones. But they're also positioned in China to take advantage of that area. And they're still using coal in mass. So this one looks good. Here's Warrior Met Coal. We're in this downtrend right here. We've been coming down. We do have higher lows. It could be stepping up, trying to break this downtrend line. I don't see the volume. There's some volume back here, a little bit. So this one looks okay. It doesn't entice me like some of the other very large chart patterns. Now, this next one, it's called Clean Coal Technologies. This is a very interesting chart here. We've got this down, sideways movement. It completely blew out to the downside. And we're creating this pattern that's like coiling up into the tip. And we've got all this volume in here buying this. Kind of interesting. Now, I don't know anything about this company. You guys are going to have to go do your due diligence, but this one is very interesting. We've got the volume, we've got the chart, and it's coiling all up in the corner here. Very interesting chart. Now, I'm going to go over some ones that I do like. I like Centennial Development. This thing's not going to blow right through here. I think we're going to probably pause a little bit, and then we're going to move. So you might see a little pause, maybe today or tomorrow, and then a big move higher potentially. Here's SM Energy. That broke its pattern. You can kind of just draw this line in here, maybe move it down just a little bit so it contacts a couple more of these, and it broke to the upside and it's running. So that one looks really good. I like it very much. Lots of volume buying this all back in here too. We've got Callan Petroleum. You can see the volume step in over here. It came in, bought it. We went sideways for a little while, a couple, 1, 2, 3 months. Draw the line in. It just broke out of this resistance area with good, strong volume and price movement. Deep Yellow, Uranium Company. This guy is looking pretty good. Draw the line across. It's trying to put this cup and handle pattern in. And when it breaks through this 750 range, 0.750, gone. It's going to look great. Appia Energy. Like I said in some of my other presentations over the past couple of days, this thing was coiling up in this pattern here. Went to the tip, broke out, and gone. 8%. I don't know if it ended there, but we broke out of this pattern here. It's looking fantastic. Blue Sky Uranium. I drew a kind of a resistance line through here, which then became a support line. We are creating this little downward flag pattern, and we broke to the upside. So looking really good. Good volume down here. Looks fantastic. Here's another opportunity, I think. Canadian Solar. I did put some money in this. I am playing the long-term, long game here. We've got all the way back to 2008. You draw the trend line in. This is a very big trend line. We broke out, and we came back to do a retest, back test. Now, this thing could still go sideways for a little while. I'm going to accumulate it in small amounts, cost average in, and get my shares. And if they're going to throw trillions of dollars at this, I'm going to have a little money in it. I'm going to diversify out a little bit because this is a very big base to launch from, a very big base. So I'm going to throw a little money in it. Nothing hurt. SunPower, same thing. We've got this line going across, came up, pulled back, and we're retesting, backtesting. This thing could launch higher over time when this money comes flooding into these companies. Now, I'm just putting a little money. I'm not going, all in here. I'm diversifying my holdings. I'm looking at the very long term. And I may be wrong, and maybe this thing comes back down and breaks this line, but I'm putting a little bit in. On a short-term basis, the charts look pretty good. And here's Siemens Gamesa, GCTAF. It's a wind turbine manufacturer. And it looks like what we're doing is we got this trend line in here. We broke out, back tested, took off, and it got ahead of itself. They don't have earnings. They don't have any of this stuff. Well, they have earnings, but it's just not as much as I think the excitement drove this company into. And we're coming on back, and I still think this has some time to come on back and try to hit this line back here. If it hits this line, I'm probably going to add some in Vestas, Gamesa, some of these wind turbine companies. Now, does it mean that do I have a strong conviction of these companies? Yes and no. If they're going to throw trillions with a T at these companies, I'm going to have some money in it. And if the costs continue to decline, and let's say they do overtake natural gas, even on the energy costs scale, and they figure out how to store this stuff, I have to be my own contrarian. I don't think renewables are ready yet, but on the other hand, if they're going to force this stuff to happen, I'm going to have some money there. There's also other ulterior motives, I think, by the government where they want to switch away from oil, natural gas. They want to become less dependent on external or other countries, external sources outside of our country. They want to become less dependent and be more independent. So I think they're going to go for it. I think they're going to dump a bunch of money in this. I think they're going to try to make it work. So I'm going to throw some money at it. Not yet in the wind turbine stuff. I'll throw a little bit in sun power and Canadian solar. Dip my toe in there. Get a position. Get it in front of my face every day in the account, and I can see it, watch it, and add to it when needed. If you guys like this, this presentation, give me a thumbs up. I know it originally started as coal, morphed into some other ones that I really like at the moment, just because the presentation was so short. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.